Meshtools was a well-regarded third-party developer for Train Simulator, whose add-ons were quite advanced for their time. Today, I wanted to go back a little further than I normally do and shine the spotlight on one of those older add-ons. This is the London and North Eastern Railway J50 class 060 tank engine. These locomotives were designed by Nigel Gresley, before the man was knighted, and originally designated as the Great Northern Railway J23 class. In total, there were 102 members of the class, but only 40 of them were built prior to the grouping of 1923, during which the GNR became part of the London and North Eastern Railway. Perhaps the most noteworthy feature on these engines were the water tanks, which sloped at the front to give the crew better forward visibility. The Great Western Railway 4575 class of 1927 had similar sloped tanks, but in my opinion, don't look anywhere near as distinctive as the J50. The J50s lasted well into the British Railways era, with the final example not being withdrawn from service until 1965. But sadly, none of these distinctive tank engines have survived into preservation. I recommend watching Chris Eden Green's Paint Your Engine video about the J50s if you'd like to learn more about their history. The J50 was released for Train Simulator way back in October 2013. 12 years later, and she is still available to buy on Steam for $24 New Zealand at full price. It's debatable whether or not that's good value for money, considering the fact that some of the legacy routes, such as Hamburg to Hanover, now cost the same as the J50 at full price. Incidentally, I saw that this engine is on Caledonia Works' list of future DLC, so it'll be interesting to see how a CW version fares in comparison to the existing Meshtools one. There were numerous variants of the J50 in real life, but the only one we get with the Meshtools add-on is the J50-4, of which only 14 examples were built in 1938 and 1939. These were notable for their coal bunkers, which had solid walls going right up to the cab roof. While I happen to own a Hornby J50 model, she is a different variant from the J50-4, so I can't show you what she looks like in Train Simulator. The specific engine I've got is number 635 in LNER lined black, but as for the liveries that you get in the TS add-on, they are as follows. LNER unlined black, only with 4-digit numbers, LNER apple green, British Railways transitional green, with Gill Sans lettering, BR transitional black, and ordinary BR black, with either the early emblem or late crest. Thinking back to the LNER unlined black engine, I should mention that all these Christmas assets don't come with the J50 add-on. They are instead from a freeware pack that you can get on the Caledonia Works website, and I added them to this scene in the scenario editor. As was tradition with Meshtools products, the J50 has both a standard and advanced mode, but it's not set up in the same way as Victory Works or newer Caledonia Works products, where you've just got one version of the locomotive in the scenario editor, and can switch between standard and advanced in driver mode by pressing Ctrl A. In the case of the J50, you've got separate standard and advanced variants in the rolling stock list, but I can't really comment on the advanced J50 because I've never driven it. According to the Locomotives listing on Steam, the advanced version has extra scripting that's not present on the standard version. Upon revisiting the manual, I learnt that the advanced version can't be used on AI trains in scenarios, nor can it be driven via the F3 or F4 heads-up display. The textures are good for their time, but when it comes to the brasswork on the footplate, I prefer how the brasswork looks on newer models, particularly those from Caledonia Works, such as the LNER F8 class. Thinking back to the J50, I was never a fan of the whistle audio, and it doesn't help that you always get the same short blast regardless of how long you hold down the spacebar. Pressing the B key gets you a whistle loop, but you can clearly hear the audio looping. As for the chuff sounds, I reckon these are pretty good for an add-on this old. Unfortunately, the manual makes no mention of an ideal fire mass for the J50, and for the longest time, I had trouble raising steam on these Meshtools locomotives when I got them up to speed. This wasn't just the case for the J50, but also the LMS 3F J50 and 2F dock tank as well. As for the Hunslet Austerity, I can't really speak for her because I haven't driven that locomotive in ages. Thinking back to the J50, and during a test run from Locomotive to Dalbeattie on the Western Lines of Scotland route, I managed to get her up to a top speed of 64.2 miles per hour. That speed was reached around 3/4 of a mile from Kirkgunsian Station, and I found that an ideal fire mass for this locomotive is around 625 pounds on the F5 heads-up display, or 60% if you're using the Fisher-Price toolbar. The J50 also has a glow from the firebox, but it's a solid glow and it's not synchronized with the exhaust beat. The J50 includes 3 scenarios for the Western Lines of Scotland route. An interesting choice given that, as far as I know, the J50s never ran on the Port Road in real life. Additional scenarios are available to download from Steam Workshop, and one of these that always sticks out in my mind, for some reason, is on the Weardale and Teesdale route and called Serving Newton Cap. It was made by the user Todd Burke, and involves a short run from Bishop Auckland to the nearby brickworks and return. In closing, I believe the LNER J50 from Meshtools has aged well, and it's been fun revisiting this engine in December 2025. I think the only things I don't like about this pack are A. the inclusion of only one J50 variant, B. the lack of any Great Northern liveries, and C. the whistle audio. Overall, this is still a decent steam locomotive add-on, particularly for those who are just starting out in TS, and I think she deserves a 6.4 out of 10.